Take it away.
All right, so we should ready to get started. Okay, hi everyone. Now before we get started, I want you all to stand up, out of your seats, get up, there's a little crowd working here. Get up, and I want you to close your eyes and picture the most powerful, influential business person you can think of. Do you have a person in your head? Okay, now open your eyes and be completely honest with me here. Sit down if the person you pictured was a man. Sit down. The person you pictured was a man. Okay, pretty much almost everyone. All right, everyone can have a seat. Now, we all know that in business, men rise through ranks faster and more often than women. And that is due to when women are developing their professional skills, they are not always given the resources and education that they'll need to succeed later on in their career. And that is why I'm here today. I'm Hannah Karaman, and I'm the president of WCU's Women in Business Club, or WIB, as we like to say. Now, over the past few semesters, the executive team and I have grown the organization from less than 10 students at our bi-weekly events to now over 100 dedicated students. Our mission is to aid women with their professional development. As a survey by the Pew Research Center found that 63% of women have never had a formal mentor. 6 out of 10 young women, the graphics are different than I had, are currently seeking a female network. And additionally, 47% of female graduates are underemployed, meaning that they are working at jobs far below their skill sets. Now, there are women in business clubs, just like ours at universities and high schools all across the country. However, these clubs operate independently by students, meaning they're not connected to one another or a higher organization, and they suffer because of it. Now, I actually had the chance to meet with several other WIB executive teams and found that we all face the same issues. We all struggle when it comes, as students, with having a lack of experience with fundraising and a lack of guidance and mentorship. For example, when it comes to guest speakers, there's been times with our events that we've just had to invite family members to come speak because there's no structure in place to connect us with the larger business community. Additionally, we struggle with continuity in student leadership. Every year, we are breaking down and rebuilding ourselves as our student leaders graduate, and we have no backbone to lean on. Now, this could be avoided if we had the help of a higher organization. And that is why I plan to create an official Women in Business nonprofit organization. This will bridge all of the existing WIB clubs together while providing the guidance and support that they need to be successful. Now, we will have a team of professional staff that will facilitate and advise WIB chapters all across the country. They will lead student leaders in helping them create it's a little different than I have. Helping them create workshops that will grow their professional skills and develop their networks, such as resume building, LinkedIn creation, salary negotiation, interview tips, and many more. Additionally, we will establish a mentorship program all across the country by recruiting a deep pool of successful business women. We also aim to host yearly career-enhancing experiences, such as conferences for our alumni and student leaders to come together, and career fairs to bridge our connections with employers. Above all else, we wish to establish a lifetime association for women as they move through all stages of their careers, from mentee to mentor and employee to employer. Now, you may be wondering, who's our target market? So our target market, as I mentioned, are those existing WIB clubs that are operating all over the country and are struggling because they're just run by students. With over 180,000 U.S. undergraduate women studying business, we plan in the first year to advise just a handful of these chapters and add on more and more every year, eventually expanding into high school chapters as well. Now, you may be wondering, how are we going to support this? How are we going to be sustainable? Well, we will have chapter and membership fees for our quality programming and opportunities, as well as build a robust alumni network. I surveyed 50 of our current WIB members, and I found that almost 80% of them are very eager to join this alumni network and would be willing to pay a yearly membership fee to do so. Additionally, we will establish partnerships with business, as we wish to establish women in business as being a major recruiting source for large corporations. Now, when it comes to partnerships, you may be thinking, aren't there already a lot of business resources out there? Yes, and we're here to work with them. While schools have career centers, we found that 60% of our members had only been to Westchester's Career Center once. These resources are underutilized and would make great partners to our chapters. Additionally, the American Businesswomen's Association is the largest women's business network in the nation. However, they do not support students, so there's great opportunity for partnership, especially when it comes to mentoring. Additionally, there are various other student business organizations Large ones that come to mind are co-ed business fraternities. However, these fraternities do not focus on issues from a woman's perspective, which is very important. I'm going to finish out here today with a study I found that truly shows the importance of having a strong female network. Yang and colleagues conducted a study, and they took female students, and they gave them mentors, some male and some female. And you know what they found? They found that the students that had female networks and a strong female inner circle achieved job placements after college that were 2.5 times greater than those with male mentors. And that is because women face so many barriers in their careers that men are not even aware of, and thus cannot help them with them and not give them advice. So as a young woman, it is crucial to establish a great women's network in order to be successful in your career. And now that you know the importance of a woman in business organization, I'm Hannah Kerriman, and I'm asking for your vote of support for my idea to launch the leading collegiate organization in the nation for women pursuing business. Thank you. I don't know what's going on here, Patty, but...
Steve?
I love the enthusiasm. It's almost contagious. How do you plan on funding your endeavor?
Yeah, so we plan to be a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and not making up this structure, not creating something pretty much from scratch. This exists with many other organizations, and they've made a structure that works. I'm a member of the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. It's similar to this. We have it right here at Westchester. They have the higher organization with the chapters at universities, and with those kinds of programs, it's very common for schools to even have to pay sort of a subscription fee to have these organizations at their schools. And then additionally, that doesn't support all the activities we want to do. Like I mentioned, we can have membership fees as well as build up our alumni network after year. If you've seen what sororities have done with their alumni programs, it really, really helps fund their organizations.
Lisa?
Yes, and you just mentioned sorority, so that definitely ties into what I'm going to ask. First of all, great pitch. What will set you apart, or women in business apart, from the sororities, from also NABO, for example, those women groups that are already out?
Yes. So I was pretty surprised when I joined Women in Business that we're not already established with a higher organization, because like I mentioned, schools across the country already have these organizations. And what sets this apart from other sororities or other women's groups out there is it's very, very general with any professional needs that you may need. So, sorry, let me elaborate on that. So we focus on very basic professional development, resume building, LinkedIn tips, how to nail an interview, how to get a network. It's very simple things that isn't very, very niche. So there are a lot of women's organizations out there that focus on, okay, women in marketing, women with this, women with this. But for just a freshman going into college being like, I don't even have a resume, like I don't even know what you wear to an interview, it's something that they all tend to gravitate towards. And it's different than a sorority in that, again, we are just focused on business. With sorority, they mostly focus on volunteering, giving back. It's sort of a different kind of group that joins us.
Kate?
Great job, Hannah. There's a lot of similarities to Chamber of Commerce for your organization. How will you go about sourcing directors, officers for the organization, like the operational side of the nonprofit?
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking off of my last answer, since we are so broad and so general, focusing again, women of all business, I would have hopes that we would be able to recruit a lot of women in their careers who want to give back, who want to be involved, want to volunteer, want to take a position, especially tapping into universities' alumni networks. There are so many women who have been in these women in business organizations who would hopefully want to come back, want to take a seat in the organization, have so much skill that they can give back to students.
Anyone else? Paul?
I see the program for Westchester University. How do you get it out to 3,000 miles to the West Coast, 1,500 miles north to south? I hate to say this, but there might be those folks who say, hey, who's this person? Why can't we, why do we need her? How would you overcome that? How would you sell yourself to these folks that you've got more on the ball technically than they do, and you can organize this project?
Yeah, so I don't attend just myself to be the face of this organization. It would really be great to bring in, again, more powerful businesswomen to really be spokesperson for our groups, to show, oh, hey, I was in women business, and now look, I'm the CEO of this company, I worked at this company, I've done this, I've done that. So bringing in really influential figures would really help. And then with our credibility, again, we'll just start with a handful of schools, and I'm on more and more, especially struggling schools that are really struggling and do really want this. And once we can prove, hey, look what we've done with their Women in Business Club, we can do it with yours. That is how we plan on really expanding across the nation.
Last question, Lisa.
Question for you also. Why make it nonprofit instead of profitable? So if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I intended to be a 501(c) nonprofit because I'm copying structures that I have seen have worked. So as I mentioned, the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, they followed this structure, they made it a 501(c) nonprofit, and it's been successful. I've also taught this idea through with Tracy Rossman Wilkinson, and she is the founder of Tech Girls, and that was a wildly successful 501(c)(3) nonprofit that was teaching middle school girls how to code. So I'm talking to people who have done this structure before and been very successful and learning what I can take from their organizations and incorporate it into my own.
Thank you very much.
Now, take a break.
You all right?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
I'll take a
Go.
break.
We need to take a 2-minute break, and while we're doing that, let me share with you that I had the pleasure of attending a Women in Sports program when I was on Hilton Head last month, and Mia Hamm was there. Anyone here not know who Mia Hamm is? That's great. So Mia Hamm was telling an interesting story. She said that at one point in time, her coach looked at her and said, "Mia, you run like a girl." And she said, "And coach, if you could run any faster, you could too."
All right, hello, my name is Bree Kira, and I am here to talk about my business. Second Chance Studios seeks to provide a way for shelters, foster groups, and other nonprofit organizations to access quality marketing materials. These groups tend to function on a largely volunteer basis and do not always have budgets for photography and videography at a professional level. Second Chance Studios will benefit all local shelters and groups, their resident animals, and potential adopters and foster families by helping them to match a pet to its target market. Creating detailed imagery will also serve to reconnect lost pets with their owners by capturing the animal's various attributes and markings. We believe that enhancing digital interactions through the use of high-quality media will also increase adoption rates and allow for consistent growth within the organization's community. Therefore, the quality of what is being shown can result in greater digital traffic, reaching wider audiences that could contain the perfect match for the animal in need. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a home centered around animals, whether it be holding our own fundraisers as kids, returning lost pets to their owners, or growing up in my parents' pet specialty store. Second Chance Studios is excited to be able to take that same passion and experience and turn it into a tangible product. Direct competition may not come into play in a traditional sense. Due to the oversaturation of the adoption market, there will always be animals in need. Our focus would be to expand our reach to small groups and nonprofits that do not have the same wide-scale presence or volunteer base as larger organizations. So much heart goes into taking care of an animal as well as time. And to be able to provide marketing materials like photos, videos, and written words would take some of that weight off of the shoulders. The unique desire to improve the flow and functionality of other businesses, with the only expectation being for an animal to find its home, will be our mission. I've been a photographer for 8 years now and graduated from Westchester University with a degree in journalism and media and culture. After my husband and I adopted our 2 cats, Smudge and Swoop, from the SPCA in October, I decided I wanted to start giving back in a way that I knew how. I've been volunteering at the Brandywine Valley SPCA's Westchester location for about 5 months now and have accrued nearly 50 hours photographing dogs, cats, and events at least once a week. Just to give you a brief look into the work these organizations do, in 2022, the Brandywine Valley SPCA alone had 17,497 animals in their care. Nearly 50 animals came through their doors every single day, with 44% of those being strays. 28% were transferred from overcrowded shelters, and 1,824 lost pets were reunited with their families. Finalizing adoptions, finding available fosters, and reconnecting pets to their families are necessary in order to maintain a successful margin, so that organizations like the SPCA can continue to thrive. The sooner we can create forever homes for these animals, the sooner we can help those who are still waiting. Utilizing photography, videography, and creative writing, Second Chance Studios will create individualized profiles for every pet we can, with a specific hope to assist both senior animals and long-term residents of foster and shelter groups. Highlighting characteristics, personality traits, and histories, these galleries will allow a unique look at these pets' lives. These profiles will be provided to the shelter or group and posted on our own database as well. Second Chance Studios will promote available animals on various social media platforms, as well as on our own custom domain. And I would now like to introduce you to one of the lovely dogs waiting to find their family. This is Cheryl, and she has brought with her Thicket, an amazing dog who is about 3 years old. Thicket began her journey with the SPCA in 2020 when she was rescued from an overcrowded shelter in the South. Some dogs can spend as little as 2 days at the SPCA, while others can spend more than a year. Thicket was adopted back in 2020, but found her way to the SPCA again when she was actually picked up as a stray in December of 2022. She's now spent over 100 days at the Westchester location, hoping to find her way to a new family. I was able to hang out with Thicket yesterday and capture some photos and videos of her to share as an example of the materials we hope to include within those pet profiles. This business truly stems from a desire to help animals like Thicket to find their forever homes, to not have to spend their lives waiting for a family, and to be given a second chance. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Steve?
Yeah, I appreciate the work you're doing. It's phenomenal and commendable. But you're one person. How do you plan on scaling the business?
So the first thing would be, I'm currently just working at one location. I would love to get connected with smaller groups, maybe different campuses, that kind of thing. And once we start getting that outreach going, I would love to take on maybe 1 or 2 other volunteer photographers to help with that. Thankfully, I do have the luxury of having a lot of time to donate to this, so I am very free to do those kind of things. I do all the photography, videography, editing, and website designing myself. But eventually, when we do span to larger areas, I'd probably look at maybe 1 or 2 other photographers to join on with that.
Katie?
I don't know if I missed this. Is there a cost to the shelters, to the SPCA for your services? And if so, how do you plan to support them maybe with fundraising efforts? Because they're already in a field where they have to do a lot of fundraising on their own.
Yep, so this is a completely not-for-profit organization, just completely volunteer. The ways that we would look at expanding and just really supporting the longevity of the business would be doing fundraising, possibly partnering with some of those larger organizations, maybe where some of the proceeds would be able to go back into this. Otherwise, hosting things like photo shoots for dogs that have already been adopted or families who are looking to donate, taking family photos with dogs, that kind of thing, bringing in income that way. Really, thankfully, the only costs for this business would be travel, website, and equipment. I do already have my own equipment, thankfully, and then with various donations over time like that, we'll be able to continue. Hosting a website really is one of the biggest things, and at about $100 a year, I can host a successful business on one of the platforms that I'm familiar with.
Other judges?
That's a great setup you have there, those pictures. Typically, when you look at the Brandywine website, the pets are this big and you really can't get a feel for them. And I guess again, echoing what we've already asked, the cost involved in all this, how would you, you talked about raising funds for this. How do you differentiate yourself from, say, Brandywine Valley for your fundraising? Is it part of that, or is it?
So again, we would look at really reaching out to the larger organizations for that possibility of partnering. We aren't expecting smaller groups to have those funds. That's part of why we're looking for volunteer photographers, that kind of thing. But looking to get more money, again, would be hosting other things like photo shoots. We could have an event that we sponsor that would bring things in. Thankfully, the possibilities are kind of endless in terms of what we could do. I know the SPCA, I don't want to harp on the SPCA too much because there are other organizations out there that we would like to partner with, but they do things like Walk for Paws, that kind of event, looking to go and pair with them for those events, whether it's capturing that or helping to promote that on social media of our own things would be kind of another way.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Danny Apex Productions.